Everybody, it is my privilege to introduce Brad Barton. We met over 25 years ago. He was starting his speaking and he was at the PTA and he moved me emotionally. Since then, we've become good friends. He invited me to be part of the NSA, not the one you guys are worried about, the other NSA, the National Speakers Association. Brad is a magician. He's a good friend, but this is not his time ever being here at Ogden Job Team. And so today I'm going to ask everybody to do what we do when somebody gets over 8 interviews. So everybody, if you give Brad a standing ovation, okay?
Wow,
Oh, okay, let's give him a big standing ovation. Okay. All right.
that's cool.
All right.
Thank you.
And so, Brad, thank you for coming today. Thank you for all that you've done for the people here. Thank you.
Well, I am super excited to spend a few minutes with you. I want to jump right in and I want this to be palatable and fun as well, but also to leave with some inspiration and maybe some ideas and tools. This is a long enough time. I've got some things I want to do, but rather than get through a presentation, I'd rather have some of this get through us. And so please be willing to just jump in. And I'm not super techno savvy, so I don't have somebody here to help me. So don't just hit the raise your hand button. Jump in, unmute yourself and cut me off. So I'm inviting you, actually asking you to jump in if you have something that you wanted to add to what I'm doing. Maybe to start a starting off spot would be to let you know I'm going to be telling some stories. Some of them are kind of crazy stories, maybe unrelatable stories. What I'm going to invite you to do is relate to my story because I really believe that the stories I'm telling aren't just my stories. I think they're human condition stuff. I think these are our stories with my details, if you can imagine that. So jump in with me. And once again, if you got something to add, please, please, please I would love to have the time to get to know all of you, and I'm just seeing your pretty faces and reading your names, and I kind of want to have a journey with you guys as we do this. So, I've been invited to use a little bit of my metaphor, and so let's maybe start with this. Um, I love doing this in person and getting a dollar bill out of the pockets of one of my people. And so let's start with an illusion. Why are you here? Maybe that's a spot. Why are you here? You could be doing a bunch of other things on the internet, job searching, whatever. You could be doing a lot of things this morning, but you're here. And what's the reason that you're here? Let's actually get you going. Unmute yourself and give me a really quick reason. What are you doing here?
I joined up so Steve would find me a job.
Okay, that's good. Identify yourself too, because I got to see someone's mouth moving if I could. So who said that?
Mike,
Okay,
pink
Mike.
shirt.
Nice, nice,
Hi.
nice. Okay, let's do unmute yourself and just
Yeah,
we're trying to find a job, right?
yeah,
And we're not
yeah.
going to do that on this call, but maybe Mike, the reason you're here is maybe there's something you can get that will help you in that process. Roger, you're up.
I'm here uh, to do some networking as well.
Okay, love it. Good.
Here for
Support, love it. Tammy, thank you.
Yeah, just learn too. Learn different ways to interact. It's Tom Knopf. So
Yeah, love it, Tom. Thank you. Keep them coming.
Communication and interviewing skills.
Interviewing skills. Okay, good.
By the way, Carl's also a magician, a brand new one.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I think everybody should have something up their sleeve. Us dangerous guys. Desiree, what are you doing here? Oh, you're on mute, so you must be here to wave your hands. Okay, good.
this is Don. I'd come, it's a good chance to push yourself and see, when we do our numbers, and also a good chance to make connections with people.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Don. Let's do two more. I really want to know what Desiree said instead of just hand waving and smiling. So maybe you can unmute yourself and do this again, Desiree.
Looks like she's froze. Oh, there she is.
So sorry, my computer. I was just going to say motivation. This group actually recharges me and gets me ready for a great week.
Okay. I love it. Speaking of recharging batteries, I took the plunge about a month ago and bought a Model Y. And I found one used with full self-driving, and I own a robot. My wife is not driving our son to the airport just now, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but she is actually not driving him. The car is driving. So yeah, we got to recharge that battery. We're going nowhere, right? Okay, maybe one more. Let's do one more.
Uh, Resume building tips and skills. That's helped me here doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stan. Guys, can we boil all of that down to one word? You're here to get value, right? Can you raise your hand if you kind of agree with that? Various aspects of value. So let's use the metaphor maybe as a jumping off spot. Here's a $1 bill, and you bring a lot of value with you to this phone call. You bring a lot of value to your next job. And the idea of hiring you is that your employer believes that they can take the value you bring and you can multiply value. They're going to give you value, and we end up with some synergy, right? You're going to make them more money than they're paying you. You're trading away 2 hours of your life. That's a pretty steep opportunity cost in exchange for whatever experience that we get today. So we're going to create some value. So let's take the $1 bill and let's do that right now. Let's create value. So we're going to take the $1 bill and turn it into what?
100.
$1 bill to a
$2 bill.
Okay.
$5 bill.
Let's do a 5. Yeah, let's do a 5.
I like 100.
Who said that?
8 quarters.
Rogers, 100?
Yeah. Why not? If you're going to change it into 100.
Actually, I like it a lot, actually. If we're going to go, why not? I love the idea. Why not? Okay, if a 2 is an option and a 5 is an option, Roger's saying $100 is an option, why not? Okay, so let's do it. I love it. Let's do it. Let's do a $100 bill. Okay, so from a $1 bill to a $100 bill, notice there's nothing in my palms. Okay, nothing up my sleeves. Excuse me. Let's take the dollar bill and fold it 4 times, and we're going to change the $1 bill into a $100 bill. Now, I believe there's a lot of cool metaphor here, but I believe that and I like the idea of the most. Okay, there's no bigger bill than a $100 bill. So what if we could get the most out of this call, right? So I'm going to fold this 4 times. There's a green side and a tan side to every $1 bill. A man named Mike Cottom taught me this almost 30 years ago. Okay, half my life I didn't know how to do this, and then he taught me in the basement of the Grand America Hotel. We've been presenting upstairs separately, and I watched him do something like this, and I traded him some information for some information, right? We traded secrets for secrets down in the basement, and he taught me how to do this. So tan side, green side. The green side facing my audience, I'm going to fold it from left to right towards my audience. That's fold number 1. Okay, second fold. Again, left to right towards my audience. That's fold number 2. Okay, the third fold is from the bottom up towards the magician, playing magician here for a moment. And then the fourth fold is from the bottom up towards, what do you think? The audience, exactly. Right, just like that. And then put a little friction and pressure on it. And This is not a video trick. Hopefully I kept it right in front of you the whole time. I've just changed my $1 bill, well, from a $1 bill into a $5. Well, no, we did a $100 bill. And usually the crowd goes wild, and I like Desiree's big smile. That's really Don's like
Well
doing
done.
the air applause right here. Why not, guys? Why not? I love Roger. Why not? Guys, what the heck? What if? Think about I don't know how many of you can relate to the idea of having a list of things you want to do in your lifetime. You ever made a list of possessions you want? Places you want to go visit, maybe? Impact that you make in the world, right? Things you wanted to become, right? How many of you can relate to this idea of having, some people call it a bucket list. I'm not sure I love that term, but how many of you can relate to the idea of having a list of things that experiences you want to have in your life? Me too. Guys, how about a second list? How many of you have ever realized along the way that some of the things that used to be on your bucket list, your get this done list, or experience this experience list, some of those kind of fell off that list and ended up on what I call list 2. These are things that kind of you passed them by because they kind of passed you by because you got too old. You realized along the way that it was too hard. It was too unrealistic, right? It was too complex. It would take too many resources. Now, I'm not talking about the things that used to be on your get or done list and you outgrew them. Okay, no, I'm not talking about those things. They're good riddance, right? I'm talking about the things that still haunt you sometimes. They wake you up at night. You're driving along and you've got your radio off, and your mind just one jumps in there and says, "Hello, Desiree. What the heck? What happened to you? What happened to me? I'm still here." Right? Carl, Don, how many of you can relate to this second list, this list TOO, this list 2?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna invite you to go on a journey with me and take an honest, courageous look at that second list, your list 2, and maybe just ask kind of an uncomfortable question. Some cases maybe terrifying question, because this is our only trip, I believe. That maybe some of those things, well, maybe you gave up on them a little bit too soon. Guys, Roger, I think set the tone, this theme for the experience. Why not? Why not dust some of those off, put them back on your get her done list, and then go get her done? Right? Why not? Who, how dare someone tell you that you're too old? That you're too late, right? How no one, okay? You're the one that gets to, how dare you that you tell yourself those things, right? I want to do a bunch of things. Let's back up right here and go back to the dollar bill. There's a little phrase that is written onto, I think, every bill. There you go. There you go. This right here, this little fine print right here. It says, "This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private." Okay, so give me the functional word in this statement right here. What is what is this bill in essence? In a word, what is this bill? Okay, you got to unmute.
Its value.
Legal tender.
Okay, but let's use a word that's in this.
It's a note.
Okay, this note. No, that's not what it is actually.
Legal tender.
Okay, legal, we're getting really close. Legal is still a qualifier. It's describing that no, yes, that's the word. If someone asks you what is $100 bill in a word, it's tender. That's the word. Okay, now let's have all of you unmute for a second. I want to do a little quick discussion. So unmute your computer and then give me some adjectives to describe the word tender. Now forget context right here. We looked it up on Webster and we just start tossing out some adjectives to describe the word tender. Give me a few. Carl, say it again.
Soft.
Soft. Okay, keep them coming. Thank you, Carl.
Value.
Oh. Okay, let's hold the value one for a minute. That's because that's getting more contextual. Keep them coming.
Trade.
So sorry, Stan, I missed it.
Trade.
Okay, again, contextual. Let's hold that one out for a minute.
Loving, kind.
Yes, keep them coming.
Caring.
Caring. Nurturing, maybe someone that's tender. If someone were to offer you something, if they were offering you some of their tender, what would that feel like?
Sensitivity, feelings.
Yeah.
Delicate.
Yeah. Okay, now let's get more contextual right here. Mention value, something for trade. Right now, I get it. I can be tender to myself. Yes, but when we use the term "I was tender," it's kind of somebody doing for somebody else, right? It's implied that there's something something exchanged, right? So let's get more contextual. If you have a wood burning stove in your home, what is sitting next to it? What do we call that?
Wood.
Tender.
Yeah, it's the tinder box, right? Is one way to the wood box, right? What is necessarily tied directly to the steam locomotive? What's directly behind that steam locomotive? What is it called?
The tender box.
Yeah, it's a tender car, right? It's where the fuel is. So if you think about this, tender literally is the fuel that feeds the fire. When we're trying to combust something, we're trying to exchange some energy. That's what it's an exchange of energy. So I can tender my resignation, right? I can tender somebody some grace. I have it and I'm giving it to you. I'm tendering this to you, right? I used to have it, now you have it, right? That's what tender is all about. Now, I'm going to use some old terms right here. This is fallen way out of favor, but if we were going to go back maybe at the turn of the maybe the early 1900s, over 100 years ago, and we were reading a white paper on leadership skills, we might be using these terms. I am going to share my screen right dang now. So can you guys see that?
It's coming. Yep.
Okay. So if we went back 100 years, and I think this is relevant to what we're doing here. You came to this organization, this job finding organization, because you want some value, right? And Steve is he's an expert. He's been doing this for decades, helping people with some job finding skills. And a lot of the job finding skills that he's teaching are what you might read in a 100 years ago in a leadership white paper, process skills. There are two kinds of skills. There are process leadership skills, and an old-fashioned way of saying this, there are tender leadership skills. Okay, so process skills and tender skills. In your experience with being educated in your professions, the different professions you've had, most of the time you go to training, are they process trainings or are they tender trainings? Let's think about what process skills are first. Process leadership skills. Do you see the whole thing? Because this is supposed to come in. Are you seeing all the whole
Yeah, we're seeing the whole screen
the whole
we're
screen?
seeing your screen as opposed to the presentation screen.
We're seeing
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it this way,
There you go.
because this might be more
There we
fun.
go.
There you
That's
go.
what
Okay,
that's
so
it.
what are process leadership skills? These are task-focused skills that help leaders plan, organize, and execute the mission of the organization. So the focus of process leadership skills, system, strategy, efficiency, outcomes, what the skills involved in process leadership, decision making, delegation, goal setting, time management, process, KPI tracking. What is the purpose of process leadership skills? Um, getting things done, right? Logical, productive, efficient. What do process leaders think? Building the scaffolding of the organization. That's the process skills. And I would submit that most of the training that you and I have taken over the years are process skills. It's so sales training, right? Those are process skills. Training on a new software set. Those are process skills, right? Most leadership training has to do with process leadership. That's where we're trained because that's where the KPI, we're getting a return on investment on those things. But there's another set of skills that are super important. And once again, we don't use these terms anymore, but I like the term a lot. I think we ought to bring it back. These are the tender leadership skills. And please jump in if you've got something. So what are tender leadership skills? These are people-focused skills that emphasize empathy, trust, connection. This is how engagement is built, not with process as much, more with tender, right? What are the focus of the tender leadership skills? Relationships, emotions, motivation, safety, right? So there's two kinds of safety. There's process safety, and I do lots of safety training as well in my profession, but they're process safety skills. This is a different kinds of safety. This is psychological safety. Here are the skills: active listening, empathy, vulnerability, conflict resolution, encouragement, support. What is the purpose of tender leadership skills? To care for the people that are getting the work done so they feel valued, safe, and motivated. This is all about engagement. Tending the heart and the soul of the team. Comments on this? Okay, let's do this. Raise your hand if you would agree to my premise that most of the leadership training that you've taken over the years are process trainings, right? You get a lot of process training over the years, right? And the soft skills, well, what's in it for me as the employer to train my people on soft skills so it doesn't get done as much? Okay, so well, before we do that, which of these two skills are the most important? What do you think? Unmute yourself and let's take a little straw poll.
Both.
I would argue that the tender skills are probably more valuable. You can train the other skills. But those skills of being able to have empathy and be able to be a good leader and talk to people and talk to their hearts, that's not something everybody can do.
Yeah, and I've only got 5 of you on my screen here, so I could not see anyone that was talking. Tell me who said that.
Don.
Hey, Don, thank you so much. So think about his answer. It's a beautiful answer, Don. He started off with the notion of both, and I kind of stepped on that. Have you ever had a boss that was really great on the process skills? They were amazing at the process skills, but they stunk at the people skills. Their tender leadership skills were terrible. How many of you ever had a boss like that? It's pretty miserable to work for, right? Okay, have you ever had just the opposite? Okay, this person, it was really hard not to just love them because they're just lovable, but they hadn't a clue about what they were doing in terms of the process of how many of you had a boss like that? God bless them, right? Let's get this. They were pretty miserable to work for too, in some ways, right? Okay, we've got to have both. Now, I have taken, and it's really tough to do right here. We could take the time, but let me just tell you my experience. I've asked many a group which of those two skills they value the most in their leader. Okay, now it's not 100%. It's not even 90%, but a higher percentage people, every single boss that you've ever had, okay, with very rare exceptions, is stronger on one of those sets than the other. Okay, just like you are. Some of you are more stronger on process skills. Some of you are a little stronger on the softer skills, the tender skills. But if you had a boss and you could vote and say, okay, I want my boss, and no, they're not going to be equal. That's the goal, right? That's the ideal. But none of us are equal, probably. If I could write the script and I had a boss that was a little stronger on one set of skills than the other, which would you choose? And much more often, it's kind of like an 80, maybe a 70% of people say, I think I'd rather have a stronger tender boss than a stronger leadership, a process boss. Because that's what I identify with as well. Now, once again, I am not discounting the importance of process skills. I think we ought to know our business backwards and forwards. We need to get in the details, but not lost in those details. Because once again, I love that what Don said. We can forgive. Let's say it a different way. The same concept. We can forgive someone that's our boss a multitude of weakness if I know they love me, right? And we can train that leader on the process skills, maybe easier than we can. Emotional intelligence is a little tougher to train. Okay, so let's remember that as you're going through your job search search journey, and as you land and get going, let's get really good at the process part. But let's not forget our people skills as well. The best leaders know when to switch between gears. Process leadership builds the machine. Tender leadership nurtures the humans who run the machine. One keeps the train on the tracks, the other makes sure the passengers want to stay on board. Okay, so a related question for you. If you were hiring, let's say, and put yourself in the position of the 3-person panel on the other side of that desk as you go in for your next appointment to your job interview. I have 2 applicants. One of them is amazing process. They have the credentials. They fit really, really well. The second applicant isn't quite as good a fit, but oh my gosh, I love this person. I just love this person. I'm going to have a really tough time calling them and saying we went a different direction because I just freaking love this person. I love their energy. Think about we hire for talent, we pay them value, and we expect great results. But yet, most of what we really want from them lies underneath the waterline. It's not about talent that we're going to toss some value at so we can get more value. Most of what they're going to bring us is under the waterline. It's the energy they're going to bring. So if you were the person that was hiring, do you want the most talented person, or do you want to have somebody that's going to bring the most energy? Okay, I'm betting on the energy person every single time because energy beats talent again and again and again. It's about engagement. So as you go in and you're selling your that 3-person panel on you, yeah, be very upfront about how great your process skills are. But let's also, and maybe especially, highlight your people skills. And if that's not your strength, then go make it stronger. Okay, read more books. Okay, read a book on empathy skills and listening skills. Go if you want to author Brene Brown. Okay, read a Brene Brown book. Daring Greatly is one I would put you onto. That is amazing on the empathy skills. Comments. We got there. I just did a lot right there. Let's talk about that for a sec. And
Can
and
I
I want to
just
invite Steve to jump in here too, because he's seen this a lot.
Hey,
So
Brad, this is
I
go ahead.
yeah, this is Kevin. I wanted to jump in on a couple of these things because I like the direction you're going here. One of the things that stuck with me in my career is people leave jobs or leave organizations because of managers, not because of usually the companies. Um, and I think what you were saying is really interesting. I was trying to understand a little bit better. You're in a lot of interviews. Some of them are 30 minutes long, 40, 45 minutes. Sometimes it's one individual, sometimes it's three or four. But trying to come across with that more energy that you talk about, or that more emotional side versus the process side. And you just suggested a couple of books, but I was trying to understand better in my head, what does that look like? What does that mean? How do you show that? I think sometimes it's easier to do that depending on who's interviewing you versus other people that are interviewing you.
Yeah, yeah. That's the challenge, right? I can let somebody know that I know a certain computer program or a computer language, right? And I've got certified to do that. How do you teach somebody that, how do you how do you promote the soft skill? You don't get certified on people awesomeness, right? I maybe give you a homework assignment. How many of you have watched the movie Pursuit of Happiness? Have you seen this movie? Okay, go, Desiree, go watch it again. Everybody else, please, I'm going to invite you to go rent this movie on Netflix or whatever. Um, or maybe it's free. Go watch this movie, Pursuit of Happiness. There's some process stuff in there, and there's a lot of tender stuff in there as well. And there's one scene that is just crazy. So this is true story, by the way. And Will Smith is the main character. He's a homeless man, and he's really good dude. He's got a little boy, like a 4 or 5 year old boy. The wife is gone, and he is just miserable. He's sleeping in bathrooms, right? But long story short, he wants to go do this awesome thing and become a trader, a financial analyst, or financial um, investment broker, or whatever. And somehow he gets this opportunity, and towards the end of his opportunity, he's getting right down to the end of it, and he's either going to get chosen or not, and it's like a 50-1 shot that he's going to get chosen. And one morning, he gets arrested for some parking violations that were unpaid, and he gets to, I mean, he gets bailed out somehow, and he's painting that morning. He's got no shirt, and he's running to get to work on time to this interview, because he's going to be interviewed that morning, and he gets there barely in time, and he's got no shirt on, and he's got paint all over him, paint in his hair, and these guys are impressed with him, but they're like, dude, what the heck? And he just got vulnerable with them. He got vulnerable. And at the very end, the main guy says, "What you're in my shoes. What would you say to to people if they knew that you hired a guy that didn't have a shirt on. It's just such a poignant scene. And Will Smith thinks about that. And this is not process, guys. This is everything tender. He turns to the guy and he says, I would I would tell him that that guy had some really nice pants. And it just broke the whole room up and they're laughing. Guys, he didn't get the job because of the process skills. Dude worked hard. He got their attention. He did it because he showed his humanity. So somehow show your humanity in your next job interview. Go in there as a human being, not as a widget creator, right?
Ken, I've been thinking about this a lot because after I've got a lot of interviews that have come back and said, we've gone with someone with industry experience. I got thinking about to some of my hiring. I remember the best person I hired when I ran the retail organization for Quest was he was cleaning bread machines. And there was a lot of people who had experience that had a lot more experience. And he had a little bit in the past, but at the present time he was cleaning bread machines up there at one of the bread plants up in Ogden. But he came in and presented himself really well. He came and worked hard, and he soon became my number one salesperson. And I thought, clear back, going back to my way back machine when I worked for Staples, I thought I need someone to run my copy center. I got somebody who, so I hired someone I think had worked for Kinko's. He came in and he was awful. He messed up every order. He and meanwhile we were able to get someone who had that personality who customers loved, and we talked. And so, I've really been thinking about this lately that, I think all too often we rely upon those skills, and sure, you might need some basic preliminary, but you've got to have people who can talk to people, you're going to be able to get along with, and who will work. That's the first and foremost. People will get work and will do the job.
Yeah. Yeah. Energy beats talent every time, guys. Thank you, Don.
In my experience, industry experience is it's a substitute for the hiring manager's imagination and ability to think about the optimum fit. I was a consultant for decades, went from one company to another, one industry to another. I've worked in every industry except the vices, and that's been an intentional choice on my part. Um, my job was to go in and learn the company and its business and to become an expert in it within 2 weeks so that I wouldn't say anything stupid in front of them. And for the most part, it's not that hard to do. But I noticed a couple of things. Number one, everybody thinks that their business is somehow more complicated than most other businesses. And everybody seems to think that their industry is somehow more special or more important or more complicated than every other industry. And they're all wrong.
Of course they do. Wow. Mike, yeah, if a client is paying me a bunch of thousands of dollars to give a 1 hour speech, I kind of need to be an expert too, in a much less fashion, but to stand in front of them, and I've done some crappy things. I once stand in front of a bunch of State Farm folks, and I talk about um, the the Allstate. I've quoted the Allstate theme, and I'm like, yeah, I had that job. I was in that slot for years. Every graduation of these new agents, that was the last time they invited me because I said something stupid. Yeah, so I love the way you said that, this notion of that hiring managers use the excuse of process, looking for process skills. It's just laziness. Super easy to identify that. Much harder to read someone's heart, isn't it? Tammy,
Well,
have you
and
got something
process
for?
skills are kind of the cost of entry.
Yes, yes. That's a
Everybody
great
in
way to
this
say
group
that.
has great process skills, probably. I don't really have much in the way of doubt about that, but um, yeah, so you get in, the resume gets you in the door because of process skills, and Brad, I think to your point, that's when it's time to show some personality.
Okay, so
Mine
what
just
can
sucks, so that's a rough spot, but
yeah, there you go. What practically can I take away from this call in terms of building my tender skills? Number one, awareness. Just having this on our radar that I'm probably is I'm going to get the interview because of my process resume. I'm gonna get the job because of my tender, the way I tender show up, right? My tender skills in that interview. And then I'm gonna keep the job because of both. And again, probably more of a tender. People, I don't know which one of you, maybe it was Mike that talked about people that people quit their job, not because of the job, but because of their manager. And not because of process problems, but because of tender problems. So when you go, most of you are going to be in a leadership role when you get your job. And let's remember that as well. So some practical things we can do. Read a book. Go pick up Daring Greatly. It's probably one of the most um, easy to read tender leadership skill books that I've read lately. Another one that's really great that I'm actually not finished with even. I'm right in the middle of up towards the end is a book by Mel Robbins. And I don't really like Mel Robbins, or I didn't, because yeah, she just kind of rubbed me a little. I'm digging her new book. It's called and I just forgot the name of it. It's a great book.
Is it the let them theory?
Let them theory. Yes, the let them theory. So those are two ideas for you. And so, okay, here's another thing that I'm going to offer to you, and I promise you this will help you. Okay, I'm going to be bold right here. Start seeing people. Just assume that you haven't and start doing it. Okay, so in the United States, how do we greet each other? How you doing? Fine, how are you? What does that mean? Nothing, right? How you doing? Not too bad. How you doing? Not bad for a Monday, right?
Nobody really listens to that.
How are you doing? Could be worse. I mean, what the heck? The way we greet each other is terrible. Really, it's terrible. I love the movie Avatar. How many of you have seen any of these Avatar movies? Okay, so there's another fun homework assignment. Go rewatch these. Go rewatch the first one. Or watch it if you had. How do these blue Naboo or whatever you call it, how do these people greet each other?
I see you.
Yes. Yes, think about how they do this. They've been away from each other and now they're in close proximity and and the greeting is this. They look each other in the eyes and they say, "I see you." And the cool part is that they do. Now, what's the response in their culture? Do you remember the movie? Same thing. They turn and they say, "I see you." And they do. That's the great part. They actually are seeing each other. There's a moment of magic right there. You don't even have to like each other at the time. The guy's galloping in the scene on his six-legged horse, and he sees his girl with another boy, and he's kind of ticked because this is a outcast boy, right? He jumps off his horse, he runs up to his girlfriend and says, "I see you." In other words, "I don't like you right now." And she turns and her response is, "Well, I see you too." In other words, "I hate you too right now." But the cool part is they actually do see each other. So I'm going to invite you to start seeing people. And let's start with the ones that we don't see the most, and that's people that we live with. Let's start seeing our kids. Let's see our significant other, right? Our person, and then extend that to the fast food person, right? Um, this has become something in our family that's kind of a family tradition. We pull up to the fast food place and take the order, and I walk to McDonald's, say, "Hey, tell me your name." And it's an attention interrupt. People are like, pardon me? I just want to know your name. Sometimes they'll say, why? It's so funny when they do, right? Because they think they're in trouble. I just am a human and I'm having an experience with another human. I want to know your name. It's amazing what happens there. And then we make an order and then we pull up to get the food and exchange the money. And people are just human. There's so much just chattel other than that, right? That person is delivering some calories and getting some money, and they're just units, right? That person isn't real that's doing all that. I'm not, we're not having a human experience. I'm just inviting us to stop at church, stop in our neighborhoods, stop in our families, and start having dinner together and just build our people skills, because if I'm with somebody at a checkout at Walmart, I want to know this person's name, and I'm going to ask them, "You got a hard job, don't you?" I've had people burst into tears when I've said that. They say, "You have no idea," right? It's amazing what happens when you just turn off your screen and just turn to the person behind you and say, "Hey, right? I noticed that you're wearing whatever." Just start seeing people. Comments on that?
Brad, I wonder some days when we do that, we are preventing somebody who might be just going to take their life because someone saw them. Someone said hello and acknowledged them, because I think a lot of us don't get acknowledged.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a guy, we have a little free local paper, and there's a story in there about a guy that runs, and he runs with a "I believe in you" sign as he's running along. And he does that. It's in the local paper right now, in Spanish Fork. And he said that he was about to take his life, and someone um, had a sign that says "I believe in you" and handed it to him somehow. I don't remember I read the article, I don't remember the details on that. So now he runs around the town and does his exercise and with a sign. I mean, it's super dumb, but he feels compelled because it saved his life. Why the heck not? Guys, some of you are like, I could be doing something else right now. And he's sitting there talking about my experience at McDonald's. Guys, if you get really good at seeing people, magic will start to happen. I had an opportunity to go spend a full day with a hospital, a leadership team. This is not a very big hospital. It's in the Uinta Basin, and there were probably 30 people that were managers, the leaders of this hospital. At the end of, and I went and beat the horse till it was dead on this idea of seeing people, work on your skills, your tender skills.
Yeah,
And
Mr. Rogers used to say, "You matter."
yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what I was holding up. I actually have a t-shirt that the front says "You matter."
Mhm.
And then on the back of it, it actually says, "To the person behind me, you're amazing, beautiful, and enough. Remember." So even if we don't talk to each other, I think
Just
something
hold it up
very
again. I missed it,
I
Desiree.
know, because it's like blurry. It comes in really blurry. I tried.
Desiree,
That's okay.
take off your blur. It's okay. We don't care about
Is that what it is?
Yeah, take off your blur.
Let me see if I can figure it out. So sorry. There we go. Okay. Sorry, don't mind my background there.
Ah, love that.
So I'm with you. I think just to share it with the world, to crack a smile and just remind people that even though we're not interacting, maybe you're too busy, just know you're worth it. You matter. Everybody matters. So I agree with you. Absolutely.
Okay, and some people are not relating to this, and we're like ready to sing Kumbaya, and I want to go throw up right now.
Hey, can I jump in, Brad?
Carl, you're in.
So during COVID, I was required to travel quite a bit, and it was a difficult time. And at that point, make a short story, I gave up my Boston Celtics t-shirts and my best barbecue restaurant I've ever eaten at t-shirt and started wearing shirts that said things like "Be kind, be nice," things like that. And I still, in fact, today, look what this came out of the closet. It says "Thanks matters," right?
Yes.
And it was amazing the reactions I got from flight attendants, from other passengers, and things like that.
Oh,
People do notice. So
they do. And to your point, I'm in this crazy quick story. I'm in Louisiana, and I'm barely gonna make it back to watch my son win a region cross country championship. He's a senior. I get to the airport, and there's pandemonium. It's a small little tiny airport, and my flight's canceled. And I'm standing in this long line, and there's one attendant back there, and she was frazzled. I get the person right in front of me was just a jerk. I mean, he's so mean to this lady, and she handled with such grace. And then I was next, and she's turning people away because there's not enough flights on the only other option. And I just walked up. I'm up next, and I stepped forward, and I looked at her, and I said, "I'm sorry for him. You got a really hard job, don't you?" And she burst into tears. She says, "You have no idea." And it was just quick as she's typing in and trying to help me. And she just told me her quick story. And I just listened and I empathized with her. And it was amazing. It was a miracle, that experience. I told her my challenge. And I said, "There's no way you're going to get me back to watch my son win that region championship, are you?" She's like, "I'm so sorry, sir. There's just no way." And by the time we got done with that little interaction, I walked away and I pulled out a copy of my book and I signed it to her and handed it off. And it was just a piece of tender. It was a piece of miracle. Um, and I've walked away thinking I helped that lady. And as I walked away, I looked down at did a double take on my ticket. I was on that flight. I was on the flight. As I walked in and got onto the flight a few minutes later, I'm back there in the middle of the steerage trying to find 3A. And I'm like, "What the heck? What?" And the attendant's helping me, and the people are in the way. And they're like, "No, you're up there. You're in the first class." I'm like, "What?" This lady put me in first class on this flight. And then she sent me this amazing email a couple of weeks later after she's read my book, and it said that it was amazing. It was incredible. She never read a book like that, so the bar was really low, and so it changed her life because I just saw her. I was a human being seeing a human being, and it was just a moment of magic right there. So to your point, Carl, Steve, you're up.
I just was showing your book.
Oh, okay. Um, guys, so start seeing people and just notice what happens. My kids tease me because they've seen it so many times. You get more free food than anyone we know. That's not why I do this, but people are just generous when I'm generous with me. And once again, you will if you work on that part, just seeing people, you're going to show up differently in that interview. You're going to show up differently, and you will have more success in your job search. Promise you. Read a book. Once again, Daring Greatly is a good one. And then just remember that process skills are great, and tender skills are maybe greater. My wife and I are we are, oh goodness, maybe I'm not going to find this. My wife and I conduct high end couples connection retreats. And I was talking about this in a bit that I did about seeing your spouse. And I am not going to be able to find this. Dang it. Whoops. And as I was talking about this, is a man from South Africa. There we go. And he talked about there's a Zulu term, how the Zulu greet each other is the Zulu greeting is sawabona, and that literally means I see you. And then the response is, there's a couple of responses. I can even nagikona, because I am here, or excuse me, I am here because you see me, or because you see me, I exist. That's a pretty cool response, right? Instead of how you doing, fine, how are you, it means nothing. Okay. When I'm greeting someone in Zulu, I say, I see you. And they say, because you see me, I exist. Because you see me, I'm here. Because you see me, I'm willing to go on another day. So let's get really good at the process skills. All right. I'm going to switch gears here. Guys, tell me if we need to do anything more about soft skills. Any comments on this? Mo, we haven't heard from you yet. What have you got for us?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, so much. I mean, I can think of a lot of occasions where the soft skills made all the difference for my team because, you see work performance starting to go down, and all they needed was just a moment of, let's go take a walk. And we just go outside and we take a walk. And it's like, talk to me about what's going on. What's happening in your life, and just that quiet moment, just alone, and letting them be human, and listening, not imposing, and just listening to what they have to say, what's happening in their lives, and all of a sudden now they're heard, and now they have somebody that says, okay, I hear, let's see what we can do. Do you need do you need some time to go, and do we need to adjust your schedule so that you can, you know, get home for this activity, that, whatever it is that's going on in their life. I had one guy whose son had passed away, years before, and every year on the anniversary of his son's death, he was still grieving, but he hadn't told me when I became his boss, and I was starting to see this pattern of behavior. And he
Wow.
finally told me, and just letting it out meant that we could have that moment, where we could, honor his son's death, and he felt like he could actually be able to have that grieving moment and that period every year, and it eventually got better for him. But that's the power of being able to listen and manage, keep people on task, but you balance that with being human, being just kind and compassionate.
Wow, what a great example, Mo. Thank you for that. Um, let me close. Thank you. Let me close the loop on this, and we'll move on. I got invited to speak with do a full day training, and they didn't know for sure what they were getting. I was highly recommended, and they need some process stuff, and I did a little bit of that. But I spent most of the day on tender. And then let's fast forward 4 months. The CEO of this hospital really took the theme to heart, and that's what they do. Every morning in their huddle, they say, "Tell me I see you story." And who's got this I see you story? And most of the stories are coming from outside the hospital. Some of them were inside, but most of them were outside because they were wanting to holistically practice this idea. And then LifePoint, the mothership that has 600 hospitals, mostly rural hospitals, calls these guys and said, "Hey, we're gonna fly you in, your leaders management team, the C-level people, because we want to know what you're doing out there in Uinta Basin." And they're like, "What's the matter? We got your scores back, and you are off the freaking charts on your patient satisfaction scores. You have gone an order of magnitude better on these scores, and all these other metrics are coming up as well. And what are you doing?" And they're like, well, we're just working, right? This they're not going to say we had a guy come in and teach us this, right? They're going to take the the credit for doing this. This is what they did different. They did something soft, and it improved just about every other matrix along the way. So It's not just kumbaya, guys. This is boots on ground, bottom line. This hospital's doing better because they have decided to see people. Okay, are we ready to move on? All right, so tell me how much time I have, Steve.
You have about 45 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna go fast and furious. Let me tell you, there's a little girl on her grandfather's lap as he read her a good night story. From time to time, she'd take her eyes off the colorful storybook and reach up and lovingly touch Grandpa's wrinkled face. And by, she's touching her own smooth face and then Grandpa's wrinkled face. Finally, she stops him and says, "Grandpa, did God make you?" And Grandpa says, "Oh, yes, honey, God made me a long, long time ago." "Oh," she said, "well, Grandpa, did God make me too?" "Oh, yes, sweetheart, God made you just a little while ago." "Oh," she said. And then she touched their respective faces one more time and asked, "Grandpa, God's getting better at it now, isn't he?" I believe, I believe there's some wisdom in that story as we begin the second half of this program. I believe that all of us ought to be doing that more of the time. I think we ought to be getting better. Okay, as we get into our job search, as you're getting deeper into it, as you're getting more discouraged in some cases, how about the notion of getting better? What are you doing on a daily basis to get better? Not only on the process stuff, but on the tender things, the motivation. How are you mining your energy so that you can bring more of it above the waterline into existence? Let's get better. Now, why do we need to get better? Why is it so important to get better? Because we got this thing called entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. Now, we could go and do the whole 45 minutes just on this principle, but let's be brief. The second law of thermodynamics states, paraphrase anyway, that things in a state of order in the universe we live in tend to a state of disorder. You got that, right? So things that are ordered become more disordered over time. In fact, scientists are trying to figure out what time even is, and it's kind of a hard question to answer. What is time? And the idea that the best idea that scientists, physicists have is that it has to do with this entropy. Our universe is set up with entropy as the fundamental construct. Okay, so they think that maybe that's what time is. It's molecules and its atoms and its quarks that are organized become disorganized over time, and that's what the flow of time even is. It's the second law of thermodynamics. How does this show up? Everywhere, right? Your sock drawer gets disorganized after a couple weeks. You painted the door jamb, but you got to paint it again 5 years later. Why? Because of entropy, right? We buy a new car and it gets some dings in it. That's entropy happening. Our relationship, we were so in love, right? And then over a period of time, it kind of gets, the honeymoon phase kind of wears off. And after a while, we wonder if we even want to stay married, right? What is that? It is entropy. So without external energy added to a system, that system will become disorganized. Now, it doesn't have to happen. If there's energy added to the system, it can actually create. So in other words, there's pockets in the universe that buck the rule, the law of entropy. Stars are a great example. When fusion happens, it's actually creating more complexity inside of a star. And there's a wonderful book that I would promote to you. It's called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. Crazy awesome book. This book changed my life. He uses the term entropy, and he equates it with hate, and he uses the term evolution, which is the opposite of entropy, and he equates that with the word love. And so there's this battle between stars that are building entropy and the rest of the universe that are trying to tear things down. And we're all in that state. We can either make the hate choices or love choices in our lives. So entropy, why do we have to get better? That's the point. Why do we have to get better? Because entropy is making us worse. That's it. If you've ever taken a semester off between your quant series, remember in college, you didn't just start where you left off. If you took a semester off, your math skills have gotten worse. So we have to, and that's with everything that we do. We've got to continually get better because, well, there's a little boy that was really agitated during the sermon. As soon as that pastor says amen, he ran up to the front. He says, Pastor, you said in your sermon our bodies came from dust. And the pastor said, that's exactly what I said. Well, you said also in your sermon, when we die, our bodies are going to go back to dust. And he says, yeah, that's what I said. Why do you look so worried? And he grabs his arm. You got to come into my house right away, Pastor, because underneath my bed, there's either someone coming or someone going. This is the human condition. This is the universe that we live in. We are not static. We have never arrived in our marriage. We have never arrived in our leadership skills. We are either building those skills and getting better in our relationship with deity skills, right? We're either getting better or we're going the other way because of this thing called entropy. So the question is, what are you doing every day to battle this thing called entropy? I like to think of it as a daily dose, right? I got some yerba mate right here. It's got a little stimulant in it. It's not caffeine, it's mateing, right? And it stimulates me. I really have a tough time starting my morning without a little bit of stimulus for my body. Or what am I doing every day to stimulate my spirit and to stimulate my growth? Because if I'm not getting my daily dose of mate, I'm gonna drag butt through the day. If I don't stimulate my growth, I'm gonna have kind of an off day. And I think it's especially important, and I'm one of your fellow travelers, guys. I am unemployed most days of the year. And I'm sitting in my office trying to figure out how I can go get a job. So, and it's a little different because my jobs are one-offs mostly. But I'm a job seeker. And some days I just don't feel like it. And when I start feeling like I don't want to go job search today, I gotta go get some daily dose. So never been easier to do. There's books I can read. There's TED Talks that I can listen to, right? There's stimulating things on the YouTube. If you're taking notes, write that down. What is my daily dose? What is my daily dose? And then answer the question, how are you battling entropy? I bring up this scientific concept because we are sometimes wonder, why the heck is life so hard? Why does it feel like I'm walking up an escalator in the wrong direction, trying to get to the top? Why? Because we are. That's the universe that we live in. And if we ever stop striving up that escalator, we're going downhill. Okay, we're going downhill. So, and that's the universe that we live in. Okay, there's nothing we can do about that. And maybe it's not a bad thing either. So, comments on that before we move on. Mo, you got something for us.
Oh no, I just thumbs up. Yeah, no,
Okay.
you've got to be in a state of work, a state of development constantly.
Yeah, here's a quip for you. It's easier, I found for me, it's easier to do myself into feeling better than it is to feel myself into doing better. Right? I was listening to a motivational tape many years ago. It's probably some Yeah, early motivational stuff, Zig Ziglar or something. Um, the farmer turns to his wife, "Fire up the tractor, Martha. I got the burn." That's not the way it works, guys. The farmer gets up and gets on the tractor and goes out and works, gets to work. And then they start feeling the burn. That's you and that's me and that's all of us. We got to battle entropy. Okay, so let me tell you what happened to me. Well, first of all, let's define the word default. The computer industry has adopted and adapted this notion of defaults. Now, I would submit that defaults aren't good or bad. They're just really powerful. Okay, imagine us having to reconfigure these things every time we picked them up. They wouldn't even be useful, would they? But have you ever had a computer default set inexplicably wrong? And it's just super frustrating, right? Okay, so computer defaults aren't good or bad. They're just really, really powerful. Well, the human brain is the fastest working, coolest running, most compact and efficient computer mechanism ever produced in large quantities by unskilled labor. Did you know that? We've got this amazing piece of hardware up here. We also have software written over the top of it. And we have defaults, guys. We can go talk about that a lot, but defaults for the way we handle things when they go great, defaults for the way we handle things when they don't go great. Your last leadership role was a whole complicated series of defaults. Okay, then the last time you took a drive, you didn't even think about driving. You may have driven 100 miles and you never thought about driving. Why? Because your brain, your driving skills are a whole bunch of defaults. Right? They're just automatic pilot. Here's the challenge. The most important defaults, the ones that run the sub-programs in our brains, those defaults were created in our extreme youth. And guys, some of those defaults aren't serving us well anymore. Some of them never did. Let me tell you what happened to me. I was born at a very early age. And I was raised on a cattle ranch near Salmon, Idaho. My dad was a very harsh taskmaster, right in the middle of the 9 children. I believe my mom and dad had 9 kids for cheap child labor. Dad was raised in an alcoholic home, got a bunch of defaults that he brought into his parenting. Dad didn't drink. His drug of choice was rage. He was a rageaholic and a workaholic. And I got to elementary school and I had a bunch of those defaults set on me. Dad taught me I was lazy and I was worthless. Now, neither were true, but I believed them. Right? I'm the shortest, skinniest kid in the school, in the elementary school. I have a learning disability called dyslexia. Trying to keep you guys awake right here. Dyslexia is not a learning disability either, by the way. They told me that I was learning disabled. What a hellish thing to tell a kid. What we found out years later is that default, that dyslexia is learning disability, it wasn't even right. Okay, dyslexia is a learning perceptual difference. It's not a disability. We just see the world differently than most people. And because the education system is set up in a way that teaches kids that have normal brains, us neurodivergent brains really struggle. But we found out years later that the dyslexic people are actually at least as smart. In fact, a little higher IQ overall than the people that don't have dyslexia. Okay, but I'm growing up through the system. I'm lazy and I'm worthless. I'm funny looking and now I'm stupid. I get to middle school. The teasing got worse. I step off the bus the first day in high school. I'm getting beat up at home. I'm getting beat up at school. Stand 4'9". I weighed 82 pounds when I started as a freshman in high school at Salmon High School. I don't like myself. I was in trouble. And that's when I decided to become an athlete. Okay, I went off of the obvious sport, which was wrestling, and I had a wrestling coach that maybe a couple weeks into the season, our old Greek wrestling coach, George Artemis, pulled me aside from the other wrestlers, and he stuck his finger in my face and he said, I'm going to make into a champion. He said, champions are born and then unmade. We are going to make you again. Guys, I found out years later he stole that line from a Nike sneaker commercial. He saw it on TV because he didn't come back and just deliver a marketing slogan for some brand new running shoe company in Portland, Oregon. Guys, he delivered this line from his heart to my heart. He's watching the TV and he sees this advertisement. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I got a kid on my wrestling team that's that kid. This kid's amazing. He's remarkably talented, and he doesn't know it. He just doesn't know it." And so he brought this idea, this concept, and says, "Buddy, we're going to make you again because I see value in you that you do not. Let's be that George Artemis. Let's see the magic and the majesty and inside of the people that we come in contact with, especially those that are closest to us, that are some cases invisible to us. We see the negative of them, in them, but we don't see the positive." My coach set me on a path. He taught me this. He says, "Brad," he taught me about story time, and I'm going to try another illusion right here. Can you see my hand? You want to watch quick because the trick goes fast. He taught me that stories are not little things; they're huge things. Stories don't matter a little bit; they matter a lot a bit. So I'm going to invite you to watch as I perform for you an experience with story time. Okay, so watch right here. Ladies, gentlemen, don't blink, you'll miss this. I have in my hand a card. On one side of the card, there is one black dot. The other side, 4 dots. Once again in review, 3 on this side, 6 on that side. How many of you confused? Raise your hand. Get your hands up. Now think about how many you just saw. 1 dot and then 4 dots. Let's count with me. 1, 4, 3, and then 6. Say 1, 4, 3, and then 6. Count with me out loud. I want to see your mouth moving. Ready? 1, 4, 3, 6. Again. 1, 4, 3, 6. Louder. 1, 4, 3, 6. Faster. 1, 4, 3, 6. How many of you are still confused? Raise your hand. By the way, the trick should only work one time here, folks. Guys, let's dissect this trick right here. Think about what I just did. I just gave you story time. I told you 4 one-word stories, and you believed them. None of them are true, by the way. I lied every time. And some of you are already on to me. I said 1 and you believed it. Then I said 4 and you believed it. Now here's where brain explodes. Then I said 3 and you believed it. And then 6 and you believed it. Guys, but how many dots did I ever have? 1 dot or 3 dots? There were only ever 2. And our brains create a dot that's just not there. Are there 4 dots or 6 dots on this side? Yeah, there were only ever 5. But our brains created a dot that wasn't even there. Guys, this is, again, the human condition. The stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we allow other people to tell us, heavily influence the way we experience the world. So let's get good. A part of our daily dose, part of our getting better is telling better stories. Cultures of organizations are not static. They're either getting better or they're getting worse. They're dynamic animals, the cultures, right? What is the definition of culture? What is the anatomy of culture? How about the recently told stories? And in some cases, boots on ground economic conditions, culture gets better during those tough times because the stories are getting better. Sometimes boots on ground situation is getting better, but the culture is getting worse because of the stories. Stories are it. You want to get a better job search? Create some affirmations and then go nail these things. Okay, and make them part of your life. My coach taught me about story time, and magic started happening for me. I'm telling less ugly stories about me and more beautiful ones, and I'm feeling better. Because I'm feeling better about myself, I'm saying no to my laziness more often. I'm saying yes to my suffering. And because of that, I'm getting my wrestling skills are getting better. And I'm actually winning matches legit instead of just by forfeit once in a while. And I start winning, and then I start winning more and more and more. I have the courage to go out for cross country, and I'm winning races, and then I'm setting school records, and I'm setting Idaho state records. Eventually, I mean, why not? Why not write down when I'm a 22-year-old kid, why not write down that I want to set a world record someday in middle distance track? Okay, why not? So I did. And then I went out and laid an egg. I got to college, and my college coach, Chick Hislop, after failing and failing and failing, I finally started getting good because I started listening to this man's stories. And I started running really well. And he pulled me into his office one day and he said, Brad, no Weber State University athlete has ever made the U.S. Olympic team. Now that's no longer true. There's 3 Olympians from Weber State. 2 of them medaled. One of my college teammates was a really good decathlete. Actually should have made the team, maybe medaled in the decathlete. He got injured, and years later he won a silver medal in the bobsled. I'm still ticked off about that. And then of course Damian Lillard won a gold medal as part of one of the recent dream teams. Back then it hadn't happened yet. He said, after 90 minutes of this elaborate story about how we're going to make this happen, he says, Brad, let's go do something that's never been done. And I got chills. I remember that experience when he said, let's do something that's never been done. Guys, I was in. Give me your heart on this, Brad. Give no promises. You get injuries aside. I will put you in a position to make that Barcelona games team. So that was it. Coach and I, that was our story. We're going to Barcelona, Spain, baby. We're going to make the U.S. Olympic team. Let's fast forward a bunch of years. I get to the Olympic trials. I'm ranked 19th in the world in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. We're going to Barcelona, Spain. Right, oh, by the way, the story. Here's our jersey, one of our warm-up layers. The Weber State distance crew, raised locally, ranked nationally. Okay, by the time I got to Weber, that wasn't just an affirmation. Okay, Weber State was ranked in the top 20 in the nation. My freshman year, we were 11th in the nation in cross country. There's no 1AA in cross country. The year after I graduated, Weber State was 4th. Okay, try that on, March Madness fans. We were 4th in the nation from little old Weber State with the lowest budget in the Big Sky Conference, by the way. Why were we able to do that? Because this man was technically better. He just read more books, so he was a better coach, process skills, and he was also better. And he wasn't a loving, tender leader. What he was he was a great storyteller, and he believed in us way more than we believed in ourselves. He was like the tender version of a Marine Corps drill sergeant, but dang it, he believed in us. And so your tender skills don't have to look, all warm and fuzzy, by the way, because this man didn't. But he practiced his process skills in a way different way than what I've been preaching here. But he did see us, by the way. Oh, God, he saw us. And we were terrified of this man because he saw us so deeply. He reinvented this sport, the 3,000 meter steeplechase. I get to the Olympic trials, and I'm gonna make the team. We're going to Barcelona. And story short, over the last water jump in the semifinal round of Olympic trials, I slipped. It was a colossal mess because I 4 young men behind me, I stole their dreams away as we crashed in this colossal mess of track spikes and torn flesh, blood, sweat. When we sprinted the last 158 meters, Barcelona, baby. How about Brad Barton doesn't even make the finals at the Olympic trials my senior year, in 1992. After about a month of pity party, how many of you been there? It really mattered, and somehow you went down in flames. After about a month of pity party, I called my coach. I said, let's go to Atlanta in 96, coach. And he says, I knew you'd call. So I signed up for another 4 years of just, there's nothing in civilian life that I've ever experienced that was anywhere close to as difficult. I didn't even make it to the starting line in Atlanta. I ripped something on my hip, and didn't even make it to the starting line. So I'm too old to make the Barcelona games. So I met a girl on the track team. We got married and made some hybrids. And I could go on. We're runners, okay? These kids are amazing. They're very accomplished runners. Um, and then years later, I'm at a high school track meet. I gotta do this really briefly. I'm watching these old guys at this place called the Simplot Games at Idaho State University, the largest indoor track meet in the world. And there's old guys on the track. I'm like, what? Oh, it's the coach's mile. I'm like, the what? Yeah, the coach's mile. And I'm watching these guys pitching junk stories on these guys. I'm like, well, I could do that. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I could do that. And as these men finish, this is an epiphany. I could go for 5 minutes trying to describe what happened to me in during that 5.5, 6 minute race. But as these gray-haired old men turn that last turn, pain lines etched in their face, I'm sitting there in tears going, holy smokes, I'm supposed to do that. I don't know how many of you can relate to my story, but I knew I was supposed to do this hard thing, and it made no sense. But I knew that I was supposed to do this. How many of you can relate to this? Even if it didn't make sense, you knew you were supposed to do something. You felt, in a religious term, you felt called, right? You felt called to do this. I fought that feeling for months because I didn't want to do it. I finally gave in. I told my wife about it, and she said, well, you don't have time for that. I'm like, I know. So she knows my personality. I don't have a fruit tree or two. I've got like a dozen of them. I don't have a beehive in my backyard. I've got 170 of them. I don't have, a kid or two. I've got a whole bunch of them, right? This is how I'm wired up. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. I'm not promoting that, by the way. That's just the way I'm wired up, right? And so I knew that if I was going to jump on the track and train, I was going to go run fast and run hard. And so I trained a few weeks. Goal, what's the goal? 5 minute mile? Is that realistic for a 44-year-old man? I looked it up on the internet and found out, yeah, there's actually about a dozen guys that age in the United States that run faster than 5 minutes every year. I'm thinking, okay, well, there's the goal. After months of training, a few months anyway, maybe 2.5 months of training, I ran a mile in 4 minutes, 42 seconds. Then I ripped my quad muscle. Took months to heal, but I still felt called. So I fought this feeling for months again. Finally gave into it, got even more fit. 2 years from to the day that I had that epiphany at Idaho State University, I was on that starting line at the coach's mile at Simplot Games. And I ran a mile in 4 minutes, 32 seconds. And then I ripped my quad muscle, took months to heal. I called my old retired college coach and I said, Coach, I ran 4:32 in the mile last year. He said, you did what? How old are you? And I said, well, I'm 45 this year, Coach. He said, Gads. He said, what's the world record in the master's age group, 45 to 49? The world governing body keeps world records in 5-year increments. So the first day you're 45 to the last day you're 49, that's an age group. And there's world records associated with that age group. The first day you're 50, right? And we looked it up, 4 minutes, 20 seconds. Now, some of you, those are just numbers, okay? Some of you understand what a 420 mile is. And the difference between a 420 mile and a 432 mile is like an order of magnitude in difficulty. I read the number and my blood ran cold because that's impossible. Okay. Well, nearly impossible. A guy named John Hinton actually did it. He was 45. He's actually an American. He ran a mile in 4 minutes, 20 seconds, 0.19. And I says, what do you think, Coach? He said, after a long pause, he says, here's what I think. He'd been retired 4 years at that time. He says, I think it's time that you and I come out of retirement, Brad Barton. I think it's finally time that you and I go do something that's never been done. And it was like this 25 years just melted away. And I'm a starry-eyed college kid in his office. And I knew this is why I was supposed to do this. I didn't know why I was supposed to do this, but I knew that this was it. This was the goal. So we got busy and we got to work. We're going to go do something that's never been done. And that was the goal. Let's do something that's never been done. So we started off, and we worked really, really hard, and I ended up running. Well, I ran 426 after nearly 6 months of training. He finally let me race. I ran remember the world record's 420.19, 420. I ran 426. 2 weeks later, I ran 423. 2 weeks later, coach broke my foot. This is a stress fracture. He overworked me. I'm on crutches with him coming out of the clinic after the bone scan. I said, "Now what, coach?" He says, "Well, maybe we figured out why that's a 30-year-old world record we're trying to break." What? Maybe someone as old as you can't train hard enough to run any faster than John Hinton did, 420.19. Ugh. Now I got a broken heart to go with my broken foot because, guys, I knew I was supposed to do this. And then with a very rare grin, he said, "Or maybe it can be done, and I just haven't figured it out yet. Brad, you are my guinea pig, and I'm the guru. We found out that if I train you like a college kid, stuff's going to fall off." That's what he said. And he says, we're gonna reinvent what it means to train at a world-class level. Guys, this is your story. The environment had shifted significantly. So we couldn't do what we've always done and still be successful. We had to reinvent ourselves. I'm watching YouTube and seeing this advertisement for this masterclass on becoming an AI expert. Take the class. I don't know what it costs, but take the dang class. Your environment has shifted as well. Your future employer, the person that's looking at you, needs to know that you are skilled at artificial intelligence. Doesn't matter what the industry is. My son works for General Mills, and he's telling me what General Mills is teaching them about how to take AI and put it into the kibble factory business. Guys, get really good at AI because your environment has shifted as well. If you are not getting better on that, then you're going to be qualified to perform in a world that no longer exists. So get really good at artificial intelligence. You will. Some of you are going to find the dream job you've always wanted, and you're so glad that they let you go at your last job. Hey, this was our condition. We had to go reinvent. So we came back the next year. I'm 46 years old. I ran 426, and we worked super hard. I ran 426. 2 weeks later, this is me at Idaho State University. One thing we changed, we're racing against college kids. This is me at Idaho State University. I ran 426. 2 weeks later at Boise State, I ran 421. I ran across the infield. Coach didn't travel with me. I called my coach. I'm screaming, "Coach, I can do it. I know I can. I can break the world record." His response, "Duh. That's what I've been telling you. That's a story that I've been telling you." So 2 weeks after that, I'm in Boston at the Reggie Lewis Center. How many of you know Boston? Anybody here, a Boston expert? Reggie Lewis Center in this I won this important, prestigious race, but with a terrible head cold, I ran 424. It's the hardest I could run that day. I got one last shot. This is Ithaca, Cornell campus. I'm so nervous. I will never forget how nervous I was. Walking across the Cornell campus with a campus map in my hand. I walk up to this 100-year-old rock building. This 200-meter track is housed. And I look up and I'm going, "No way. This place is called Barton Hall." Remember, my name is Brad Barton, right? I walk into this little arena and I'm looking at the Ivy League the pennants hanging from the rafters. I'm thinking to myself, I own this track, right? This is Barton Hall. Coach and I are gonna do something historic today. We're gonna break the world record. So excited. 52 and a half minutes after I started my warm-up cycle, I'm standing on the starting line and they're lining us up. And then they keep lining us up and they keep lining. They put 18 little Ivy League punks on this 200-meter indoor flat track, and they stuck me in lane 6 at 4 fellas deep and fired the gun. I was desperate to find my way inside. You cannot break a world record in lane 3. Um, and which I ran most of the race in lane 3, that first lap in lane 3. In the starting of the second lap, I found a gap and I dove for it. It wasn't enough. It was my fault. The kid behind me clipped my heel. I fell hard to the inside rail, separated my shoulder. My feet are in the air, and then my head, and then my feet and my head. I jump up and I'm running around that corner 15 meters behind the straggler. My arms slowly going numb, and my mind is reeling. I'm like, no, not after all this suffering. This is our last chance. This was the last chance. Not after all this suffering, not after all this work. And I remember thinking, okay, coach has trained you not to operate under the circumstances. Brad, you can still do this, but you got to get your head in this. And late in the race, as I catch up with it and my back on pace, I'm realizing I need my heart in this race. Turn that last turn, everything fades to gray. I come to after the race. I actually made it to the finish line. Don't remember finishing. The Dartmouth coach has got me on this arm, and the big, handsome Brown coach has got me on this arm. Guys, these guys were gunning for me to do this. They don't care about me. They have no idea. I'm a nobody. They're all so excited about the things I've been reading about one of these famous coaches that they so admire and respect. The guy that they voted as the head Olympic distance coach in '96. Yeah, coach made it to the Olympics. He was the head Olympic distance coach because he's so well loved and respected. Coach Hislop from Weber State. That's the story. And this Brown coach just shook his head. He said, I'm so sorry, Brad, you missed it again. I found my way to the Barton Hall stairwell where I could hear myself think. It was so noisy in the arena. And I called my coach, and I'm still in severe pain. I could barely hold the phone, and I choked out a kind of a sob. Coach, I can't do this. It's too hard. And coach shoots back, what are we doing here? I'm like, oh, crap. I know, we're doing stuff that's never been done. And then he said this, if this was easy, it would have already been done. I'm like, I hate this man because he's so right. He's always right. Then his voice softened and he said, Brad, get back on the plane. We'll get Doc Sharman to look at your shoulder. I've got an idea too, and adjusting your workouts. Brad, the Columbia University coach is a personal friend of mine. There's that last chance meet reserved for only college kids on the bubble of the NCAA championships. Brad, it's not outside kids aren't allowed. Okay, I'm going to get you on that starting line. I promise I will get you in the last chance meet. Let's get it done 2 weeks from tonight at the Armory. In 2 weeks and about 4.5 hours after that phone call, on another Ivy League track. And I'm going to just cut to the chase here. Well, let's see if we can watch this. Can you hear this at all?
Tim Cousins, Columbia.
Okay, watch what happens. I'm in black.
Miles Schroeder, Georgetown. Brad Barton, who's going for the men's masters mile record of 4:20.19. James Frick, Johns Hopkins, and Ben Firth from Georgetown. They're all. Watch out for lane 5. The masters runner going for 4:20.19 is what his goal is today, as it has been all season, to get that masters mile.
The track world was talking about this. Again, not about Brad Barton, about Chick Hislop, and about this old has-been All-American steeplechaser. By the way, I'm dead last, but I'm exactly on pace. These Ivy League punks have gone out too fast. I'm better coached. Now we're deep into the race, and here I come. I'm in black.
Brad Barton though making a move down third. Barton, the Masters runner, he's looking good. Tim Cousins, 1 to go, 3:42. T Cousins rolling. Brad Barton is also rolling, now in second. Tim Cousins, 4:13.68 unofficially. Saunders, Barton, unofficially new American Masters record for age group 45 to 49. He is
not.
4:15.60.
Okay, someone is going to break that record.
American record age group.
Someone's going to do it. Why not Coach and I do this? Why not? We switched our goal because good coaches do that. We're never done, right? We switched our goal and decided we're going to go to switch our goal to the steeplechase. Set an American record in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. We failed in Portland. I went out too fast. I didn't race the plan. And then I failed again in Seattle in the last shot. I failed. Coach and I doubled my mileage the next year, came back so fit that we took 9.5 seconds off the indoor 3,000 meter steeplechase, or flat 3,000 meter. That's world record number 2. And then we turned our attention to the steeplechase, and I quickly got injured. And then months later, I was at the very end of the season. I got one shot only. This is Vanderbilt University, and I'm gonna go try and break this world record. The starter had called us to the line, and the race director, a British guy named Dave Milne, he walks up to us and says, "Wait, we're gonna stop the race." And he walks up to me and he says, "Brad, what's the world record you're trying to break today?" And I says, 916.10. 916. He said it 3 times out loud so we could remember it. 916, 916, 916. I love the looks on the kid sitting next to me. He's looking at me like, "What? I'm here to run a race, and this kid's here to do what? This man's here to do, this old gray-haired guy is here to do what?" Right? Just love that. The gun goes off, and guess who's dead last again? But I'm exactly on pace. Second lap, dead last. Third lap, dead last. This is me just past the mile mark. I am still dead last in this race, guys. But I'm doing a clinic on how to run a steeplechase race even, which is super important in a steeplechase. And this is just off the water jump with about 2.5 laps to go, or 3.5 laps to go. And I know Coach and I are breaking a world record today. Okay, this next image is just too good. You can't make this stuff up. A guy named Doug Robinson, Deseret News sports writer. I love this guy. He's my favorite sports writer. How many of you know Deseret News sports section? Have you read some of Doug's stuff? Doug calls me one day and he says, "Okay, Brad, this is after extensive interviews. He spent an hour with me, an hour with Coach, an hour with my wife. He said, we're gonna go ahead and run this article on the front page of the sports section. So we need an image for the front page." I said, "Well, I'll send you some stuff, but the one you want, I don't own." He says, "Don't bother. We never buy images. We either take them ourselves or we use freebies." And I said, "Well, okay, Doug, I'm going to send you what I got, but I'll send you this other image owned by a track coach in Tennessee named Foon Fu, just for a chuckle." And Doug Robinson calls me back 5 minutes later. He says, "Brad, how do I get a hold of Foon Fu? We want to buy that image." This is the image that showed up on the front page of the Deseret News Sports section. And you could tell why it's such a great pick. Guys, I beat this kid right here we're looking at by 24 seconds in the last 2.5 laps of this race. Coach and I ran a steeplechase that day so fast, it would have won the Big Sky Conference championship that year. It would have won the Mountain West and the Western Athletic Conferences as well. Guys, the time was so fast, it was, there's 11 things that have to happen in order to have a world record ratified. One of them is to run a record time. Okay, we did every one of them. Every signature, every course of fit, we did it all, and officially turned into the world governing body. The time was officially rejected for a world record. There was an inquiry made, and I'm like a little ticked. A couple weeks later, I get this response: "Dear Mr. Barton," you can't make this up either. "Dear Mr. Barton, please forgive us. When we program the computer that handles the data for the World Masters records, we set the defaults on the computer such that it would reject any times that are unrealistic." This actually happened. We have further researched your Music City Distance Carnival performance at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have verified the story, right? Brad, we have changed the default on the M45 to 49 3,000 meter steeplechase. Please formally resubmit your paperwork. It will be ratified this time. And congratulations on your fine new world record. Guys, Coach and I broke their dang computer. We forced the world governing body to change out their defaults because my high school and college coaches had changed out my defaults. Little by failure, by success, and mostly failure and failure and failure. They changed out my defaults. Guys, this has been a hard journey for me and my coach. We've set 8 American records, 4 World Masters records. Coach has broken more of my bones than records along the journey. This has been very hard, but dang, it's been worth it. Every time I've answered the call that I've felt like I've received, every time 2 things have happened. My life got harder and my life got better. And you guys can identify with that. I know you can. Go answer your call. And your call might be very uncomfortable. Maybe it's to switch industries completely and go do something that you've got more juice for. Go do the thing you're called to do. 2 things are going to happen. Life is going to get harder, and it's going to get better in the long run, and maybe even the short run. Now, we started talking a few minutes ago about this idea of tender and process skills. We gotta have them both. Let's work at least as hard on our process or our tender skills, and that will be our differentiator. Let's remember that we've got to get better continually because we live in a universe that is ruled as a fundamental construct. The most important law in the universe that we've discovered is the second law of thermodynamics, entropy. That's why we've got to continually add energy to the system, or we're, by definition, you go the other way. And then I ask you to take a journey with me and a courageous look at your second list. The things you feel like you're too old for, or it's too hard. The things that slid off your get or done list, and you just kind of put them on a list of it's too whatever. And maybe ask that question. Maybe some of those things ought to be polished off, dusted off, polished up, and put back on your get this done list. Go be a green growing human becoming, and not just a human being. The person that wants you on their team, they want to hire a human becoming. Go show them that you're that. And you can go do some things that you've never done as well. That's my story.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Everybody, round of applause.
Thanks, guys. Ladies.
I know a few of you have some defaults besides your career coach. We can reprogram. Brad just showed us that he did. Brad, thank you. What a great way for us to enter our Thanksgiving week.
Yeah. Steve, thanks for the opportunity. Guys, for the little bit that I'm capable on a virtual system, guys, I see you and I love you. I'm a fellow traveler too, because I'm unemployed today.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Desiree.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Pretty cool.
Thanks, Brad.
If you're interested in the story, there's lots of different articles that was written. One of them, the Times of San Diego, the author went to write one he was commissioned to write one for Runner's World, and he decided he's going to do a larger piece in his hometown paper, San Diego Times, and his title was Brad Barton's Book of Job. Those of you know the Old Testament know that Job, that's a guy where stuff just falling off, right? But in the end, yeah, Brad Barton's Book of Job, from ceaseless injuries to world record at 53. That's your story. That's our story, guys. Let's go get this done.
Thank you, Brad. I'll be seeing you here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we get to go play.
Breakfast with Santa.
Yes.
Everybody here, what a great way to give us that little energy, that little belief that maybe we didn't have. But today, I hope you're walking away that is I can. And Brad, total guy doesn't know us. He saw me. He saw me just here, but maybe into the part that I'm struggling with. So thank you, Brad.
Yeah.
You and I've had some tender moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you. And by the way, do not walk up to the next person you see and say, I see you. Because they'll look at you and say, you are weird. Just don't do that, but you can do the same thing in a more socially acceptable way. Steve, I see you, buddy. Love you, man.
Thanks, Brad. Again, thank you. Everybody, big warm. Thank you to Brad. Brad, I'll send you this video when it comes out.
Okay, sounds good, man. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I will see
Thank
you. I will see you guys all next week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.